Hello and welcome everybody to another student success interview. This time we are with one of our students, Shabana. Shabana, hey, how you doing? You alright?
I'm really well, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. So today we're going to be exploring Shabana's journey from wherever she was before in her job to high ticket appointment setting. She was actually an appointment setter for a while. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to talk a bit about before, during, and after. We're going to see what kind of results she has as well, what kind of advice that she has for anyone looking to pursue this particular career. So, Shabana, could you tell us a bit of some background information, just so the audience knows what you were doing before you came into high ticket sales? What kind of job were you in? What were the hours? What was the pay? Just a bit of a background about yourself as a person as well.
Of course, yes. Well, after I finished university, I did my degree in media and business. I went straight into what you call the corporate world. So I was working for the government for a number of years, and then I moved into the private sector. So um, I've always been in that corporate world. And when you say what hours you were working, were the typical 9 to 5, but I always say it's not really 9 to 5. You wake up at 6:30, and by the time you come home, sometimes it's 7 o'clock. So I would call it more of a 12 to 14 hour shift, if I'm being quite honest with you.
Fair enough.
In
Fair enough. Yeah.
in terms of pay, obviously, it's something within the time period that I have. I had some better paid jobs, and then some jobs which were more aligning with my values, and I thought, well, I can make more progression, so then taking a pay cut. And it was just maybe like anywhere ranging anywhere between from like 25 to 30 at some point. But then you say that, and then again, after tax and national insurance, and you're rich for one day, I always say, until your bills come out the next day.
That's right. That's right.
And so that was kind of my background, working in finance as well, which wasn't my best decision. But I think when you're in a position and you get comfortable and you're stuck in that mindset, it's a bit difficult to move on.
Absolutely. Okay, so Shabana, thanks for that. In terms of sales background, did you have any sales background before? Did you ever sell anything before coming into high ticket sales?
No, I've never worked in sales. I've never even had a retail job. Growing up, sometimes you'd work at Topshop or McDonald's or never. So I've had zero sales experience prior to coming in.
Okay. And what got you initially interested in getting into high ticket sales? Because it's something completely different from being in the finance sector.
Um, like most people who have TikTok, I'm scrolling away, and then Shahab, you popped up.
All right.
And you started talking about high ticket sales, and I'm thinking, "Well, I've never heard of this." So it got me intrigued, and I think it was one of the things what you said. You said you don't need any experience in sales, you just need good communication skills. And for some reason that aligned with me, because I've always been told I have good communication skills. So I thought, this sounds interesting. So then I started following you, looking at more of your videos, and I was thinking, hold on, I've never heard of this remote sales before. I've heard of like your typical sales, like your car sales or, other sales, but what is remote sales? And that's really what piqued my interest.
Okay, good, good. And tell me a bit about like the reason as to why you came into the program. Were you suffering financially or anything, or was it just you wanted to learn another skill? What was the main motivation at that time?
I think both. I was wanted to learn another skill only because I've always felt like when I was talking about being stuck in that mindset, I felt like, look, if I don't change now, if I look back 12 months time, 6 months time, I'll still be in the same position. Also financially, like with most people, cost of living, and by the time you pay your bills, etc., you look and you think, I'm really just going to be working for the rest of my life, or until the day I die, really. And if I can change this, or if I have the opportunity to change this, I'm going to go for it. And that's what triggered a sort of change in my mind, like financial freedom that you spoke about, and also let's learn another skill. Let's see if I can challenge myself in some ways.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And okay, so fast forward, now you're in the program.
Hmm.
What were the main things that were big paradigm shifts for you in terms of what you learned, maybe that you've never learned before?
I think it was how the psychology of communication. I mean, even though I say I've been in the corporate world and you speak to internal, external departments, you write emails, you have team meetings, but no one's ever really sat you down and say, and trained you on how to actually talk and how to actually listen. So
Mm.
for me, that was a big indicator because I think, like most of us, when you're thinking about communication and you're thinking, oh, you have to be confident. But I think I learned more to listen and to actually listen to what was being said rather than listen to just to reply. So that hit a really big chord with me. And to be fair, I think that's changed the trajectory in how I speak to my family, my friends, my colleagues. So I think that was a big learning point for me.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The thing with sales, it's a skill that's
Mm.
very versatile. It doesn't just increase in your income, increases in your communication skills, relationship skills with other people as well, which is very important.
Hmm.
Um, so throughout the program, we have three main principles that we go through. First
Hmm.
one is the Genesis principle, which is mindset. Second one, DR sales principle, which is about developing the sales skills. And third one is sovereign magnetism, which is basically how to find offers. So when you were going through each one, how
Hmm.
long did it take to go through the program? And then how long did it take to actually find your first role?
Okay, when I came onto the program, I came on with this commitment and this mindset as to I cannot fail, I have to succeed, and
Mm.
I don't care about the knockbacks because I will get back up from those, and I have to do this. And I think it was the first time in a very long time that I really felt passionate about something. And because I am a bit of a psychopath, I kind of got through the program pretty quickly with obviously your help and your advice. And I turn up to every single session, as you know. I
Mhm.
was there making notes and I was putting time aside. I mean, I'm a mum, I have two children. So I was still covering all these points. I got through the program, I'd say remarkably quickly, only because everything I was learning was hitting a chord with me and I was just absorbing the content. And I think when it's like reading a book, when you pick up a really good book, you don't want to put that book down and
Mm.
you will stay up and you'll read that book into the early hours of the night, even though you know you've got work the next day. So I kind of fell into that mindset. In terms of landing my first role, I believe that was within 5 weeks of joining the program. I got my first role as a setter.
Excellent, excellent. So you went through the pro. I think you went through the program within 3 to 4 weeks, as
I
far as I
did.
recall.
I
And then
did.
year after you interviewing, and then you got the role within
I
5 weeks.
did,
Excellent,
yes.
excellent. So again, this just proves to anyone out there, like the more you want it, and the quicker you go through it, the quicker you'd get results, right?
Yep.
Um, so okay, so what was your first role? How did you find it? Was it overwhelming? Um, how much money were you able to make from it in the first month?
Okay. My first role was setting. So I was the first port of call for the company. I was managing DMs, all the social medias. I was booking calls for the closer. And at that point, because I'd gotten through the program relatively quickly, I think for me it was a challenge in the fact that I was like, okay, now I'm going to have to try and be more salesy. And but then I realized like I don't think you have to be salesy. I think if you're there to genuinely help someone, you can just be have that empathy in you, and that goes a long way. And with what you teach as well, Shoaib, on the program, it's ethical. And I think that again hit a chord with me. Not having to force someone to buy a service or a product or sign up to something. If they really want it, they kind of want to come on onto the program or the service or the product more than you want them to in some ways. So that was like my first role. In terms of earnings, you always hear you can earn 3 to 5K a month, and you're a little bit skeptical. You're a little bit, I don't know if this is going to happen to me, but I did. I closed 16 deals in my first 14 days. I used to say 14 deals, but it was actually 16 because I was looking at my spreadsheet just the other day and I was like, wow, I actually closed 16 deals in 14 days with no sales experience, by the way.
Amazing, amazing.
And
I actually thought it was 16 deals in 16 days, but actually it's 14 days, which is
16
even more
deals
impressive.
in 14 days, and I was nicknamed Messi because I kept getting hat tricks in one day. And in terms of earning capacity, again, I earned more money in 1 month than collectively I would have earned after tax with my job. So twice as much, just in my first month. And for me, it was like, wow, okay, this is me, who's a mom. I have a family. I'm in the comfort of my own home. And I'm closing deals, and I'm still managing to get my chores done. I'm doing this while I'm ironing. I'm doing this while I'm bossing the children around. I'm doing this while I'm driving. So for me, that was like the remote sales, this remote industry. It's a huge world, and I'm just literally setting one step in. And I was so excited to explore, what remote sales was about.
Amazing, amazing. So just to summarize there, your first role, you were able to close 16 deals in 14 days, which is amazing, especially with some of no sales experience prior to coming in. And you're working remotely from home. How many hours was it roughly a day?
I wouldn't say it was more hours than what I was doing. I was working flexible hours in fact. Like I wasn't working like a 9 to 5. If I started at 6 and I finished at 3, or I may start at 1 and then finish at 8, or some days where I would do a few hours in the daytime, maybe a couple in the afternoon, and then when I was a little bit more relaxed and, like I was sitting down, I was like, yeah, let's see if I can close some deals in the evening. So it was that kind of flexibility for me.
Okay. So you were an appointment setter, right?
Appointment setter. Yes.
And okay, cool. So you were an appointment setter. So the appointment setting role itself, it's remote, it's very flexible. It's something you can do around whatever commitments that you have. Were you working a 9 to 5 at the same time as well?
I was actually working as well. I was working my corporate job at the time, so I was still working.
How did you balance it? Because I know a lot of people have this question, can I do this alongside my 9 to 5? It's like the main question we get.
That's a big question. I mean, with my corporate job, I was doing hybrid working, so some days in the office and then some days at home. The days that I was in the office, I would wake up a little bit earlier, an hour earlier, which was fine. I didn't mind that. And then I'd sort of get through my DMs and see what was urgent, see if anyone had come back to me. So I'd spend an hour in the morning, and to me that was really motivating, because by the time I finished and came back home, I would have a load of messages which I would jump onto. So for me, I just found it easy to balance. On the weekends, obviously it was a lot more flexible because I don't work weekends in the corporate world. But in terms of balancing it, I used to drive home in the car, and I would be doing a setting call. I'd have my phone connected to Bluetooth, and I'd be speaking to somebody, and I was setting them and I was qualifying them and then moving them onto the closer. So I would take 2 calls by the time I got from my work to pick my daughter up from school. So for me, because I was so eager and I was so excited, I just felt like I can do this. And the flexibility for me was great because, again, it's not as if I had to then go into another job, into a physical office. I could be at home in the comfort of my own home and take calls and reply to DMs. And a lot of the times replying to DMs, I would have my phone. I wouldn't even be sitting on a laptop, to be fair.
Yeah. It's a lot easier on the phone.
And especially when you've got, like, for example, if you've got an Apple phone, you can automate the text, so you can put number one and have like your automated text and things like
Okay.
that. So
Yeah.
you're just literally pressing one, send, two, send, three, send. And then I'm a voice note person, so when I couldn't be bothered to type, or if my hands were full, I would just voice note, which again is the flexibility of the job, I suppose.
Excellent. Excellent. So you obviously don't have any sales experience. How did you get over the question in the interview about experience? Like, okay, you don't have experience. Why would you be a good fit for us?
I think I remember answering that question actually, and I answered it in a way, well, I don't have any experience, any sales experience, and that's what makes me the best person for this job, because I've got something to prove, not only to you, but to myself. And with not having that sales experience, and I feel I don't need sales experience, I'm a good communicator. I can learn these skills and I can implement these skills, and I have the empathy and I have the patience and I have the confidence, and I believe in myself and I believe in your company. So if I don't produce the results, and if I don't give you what you want, give me 1 month trial, and if you're not happy with me, I will leave. I will happily leave. But then the second follow-up question was, okay, Shabana, and I love saying this one, and the person who asked me this question always refers back to me. Okay, Shabana, if I was to give you a sword and I said to you, go and fight for my company out on that battlefield, what would you say to me? And my response was, well, I have two hands, so give me two swords and I will fight twice as hard.
Nice. I love that.
And I think for me, that landed me the role.
Excellent. Excellent. So this just goes to show that even someone without any sales experience can get on an interview with these businesses who are hiring for setters or closers, and can answer that question in a way that would make that business owner feel confident that they can do a good job. Because remember, guys, with appointment setting, and Shabani can correct me if I'm wrong, with appointment setting, it's really just DMing people who are interested, right? Calling people just to qualify them, make sure they have money, make sure they're interested, they have a bit of urgency. And that's really it. There's not much to it. So if you can show them that you have the traits where you can treat each lead, with a close eye and with speed, so that they're not waiting ages for you to reply, then really that's really what the business owner is looking for, especially with an appointment sale. So this is why we always say as well, because I do get the question, what's the best one to start? Appointment setting and closing. If you have no experience, appointment setting is the best one to start, because it's remote, it's flexible, it's something where you're learning the skills. And I think Shabana and Euro, you were also able to get on the calls with the closer, so you could find out how they could close and everything, and that would indirectly help your skill set as well with closing, right?
Absolutely. I think that for me, again, it was a great opportunity to not like, it was full circle for me. So, your prospect would send you a message and I'd be the first port of call, and to them qualify them, and then to be on the closing calls. And I was always an observer, so I wasn't closing the calls, but I was always diligent in listening to how the closer was closing the calls. And a lot of the skills and a lot of the questioning and the psychology of the questioning I picked up, and I found that the more I practiced and the more I implemented what I was learning from the closing calls, I just found my setting calls to be a lot easier. And when eventually my setting calls were going to closing calls, the closer would close in 10 minutes, and the closer would actually prompt the prospects and say, have you got any more questions? I feel like you haven't asked me enough questions. Please ask me more questions. And the prospect is, no, I was ready to sign up when Shabana did the qualifying call with me. I didn't even think that I had to come onto another call. I actually don't have any questions. And that's because I knew what to say and I knew how to say. And also I let the prospect do the talking. Like, you tell me why this is important to you. So for me, learning how sales worked, it threw away my notion of like your typical. I always think of Matilda and her father being that car salesman.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
that's the kind of mindset. I was like, "Oh, I could never do this. I could never
Yeah.
do this." But it's a lot deeper than that. It's genuinely about helping people.
Mm. Exactly, exactly. And that's what we want people to know as well. Yes, people may have a particular perception about salespeople,
Hmm.
but in reality, high ticket sales, when people are wanting to buy something that's thousands, you've got to connect with them. You've got to tell them everything. You've got to be open, right?
Yeah.
So it's completely different. You know, there's no deception involved or anything like that. Okay, cool. So Shabana, a lot of people would want to know. Okay, so you've been in sales. What's the highest amount you've earned in a month?
The highest money I've earned in a month.
Mm.
Um, this was working alongside my other job. I think it was over £7,000.
Wow. Okay. Over £7,000.
Oh yeah, it was
That's
seven.
brilliant.
Yeah, I remember.
Mm.
I had, I think 1 month. I think I earned four. And that was my second month actually. My second month, I think I had £4,000, and I'm like, wow, okay, this is amazing. Maybe I just got lucky this month. I don't know. The following month, it was 5.5. I'm like, oh, okay, this is really good. And the third month, I think it was near 7.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
And that's just my first 4 months.
Wow. And this is also something I want to expand upon, because a lot of people, they're in their 9 to 5, they're thinking, you know what, I'm not earning enough.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, when they learn skills where you can become someone who is valuable in the marketplace, you can earn double, triple what you're earning from your work just within the first few months, just like you have. Right? So this is proof that you can make that money, and that is possible. And I always tell people, even 5k, 10k is possible within the first 4 to 12 months.
Yeah.
Very, very possible. But it depends on how much you want it. How much you want it.
Yeah.
So, Shabana, like, what kind of advice would you give to people who perhaps have heard about high ticket sales? Maybe they were scrolling on TikTok and they saw me just like you did, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, like, is this legit? Can I actually make money? You know, is it going to work for me? What advice would you give them?
I would say for me, my advice would be, the first thing, I think we're all conditioned in this country, in this world, to work for others. That's one of the things I think a lot of us are conditioned. Like, you go to college, you either go to university, you work in a 9 to 5, you get an apprenticeship, and that's the mentality. However, I do now think that is changing, because more people are now realizing, hold on, there's a whole world out there which I haven't explored, and it's huge, and it's still in its infancy. And I believe after COVID, it's just it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And you know, with everything that's happening around the world at the moment, I think remote industry is going to explode. If I'm being like literally not explode in any bad way, but it's going to really blow up.
Yeah.
My advice also would be, for me, I think it took me a while to change my mindset. So I was afraid of failure. What if I come onto this course? What if I'm not good? What if it doesn't work? But then something triggered in me, and I do believe it was from watching your videos, Shoaib, where the what if became, what if this does work? What if this does make me money? What then happens? How will life change? And I started thinking, well, if I can earn an extra £1,000 a month, oh, that would be great. That would be financially, I could put that in savings and for a rainy day, etc. But then when I actually came into this field and I realized that there is money to be made, but again, I wouldn't say this is for somebody who's not motivated. You need to have motivation. You need to have determination. You need to be wanting to make that change. You need that drive, and you also need to put the hard work in, because as both of us know, this doesn't come without the hard work. And I was speaking to somebody yesterday when we were talking about the iceberg effect. Like, you see the tip of the iceberg, but you don't see all the hard work, the blood, sweat and tears that go underneath it. But I think once you get comfortable once you're happy in yourself and your mindset starts to change, your positivity. I think, we spoke about your higher self and your lower self as well. I do believe it's a lot to do with changing your mindset. If your mindset is not in the right place, then you're always going to be stuck, and you will look at other people who are doing better and you think, oh, like, why are they doing better? I'm more educated than them. I've got more qualifications, or I did better than XYZ at school. But I don't even think it's that anymore. I think it's having that drive and that passion, and you've got to find it inside of you. When they say you have to find that fire inside of you, and
Yeah.
that's what I would advise. You have to really look around, take a step back. And I say this because I'm unfortunately not in my 20s, etc. I'm not like a young person who's left university and the world is their oyster. I came into this field quite late on. I mean, my children are older now, but that didn't stop me. In fact, I feel more motivated now to learn more skills and expand my job opportunities than I've ever done before.
Brilliant, brilliant. And that's the thing, really. It's all down to how much a person wants it. It's not always about, okay, but will I make it? Are there enough jobs out there? It's nothing to do with that. Even if there weren't enough jobs out there, for example, even though there are plenty, you know, if you prepare yourself to a level where you're very good at the skills and you can market yourself correctly, you'll always get that role anyway, right? You are your own competition at the end of the day. But I feel what most people do is that they kind of step back into fear, and they become the observer of everyone else around them getting some sort of success. And exactly as you said, they're like, why am I not getting that? But then when you look deeply into yourself, you're not getting that because you're not making the right moves, right? You're just
Yes.
staying where you are. So that's some very good advice. Okay, so Shabana, obviously you've done quite well in the high ticket space. You've earned a very good amount of money as well. So one thing that is very different from yourself as to other students, you obviously have older children as well. You're obviously busy in your 9 to 5. How did you find the time to do this? Because a lot of people come to me and they say, "Oh, I don't know if I can do it. I've got kids. I've got work. I've got this. I've got that." Just making excuses, really. So, how can you? I mean, tell us a bit about your story and also how other people can kind of get over that excuse.
Sure. I mean, with having children, when I'm at home and the children are here, I'll be honest with you, because like you said, you're DMing, aren't you? So you're sending DMs, and let's be honest, a lot of us, we will sit on our phones and we will be scrolling TikTok, and we will be going through Facebook, and we will be going through Instagram, or we'll be looking at something on YouTube. So what are you essentially doing? You've got that phone in your hand, and if people actually pick their phones up right now and they go to their screen time and they see the most used apps, it's not going to be something that's educational 90% of the time. It's most likely to be like a social media app. So I use that energy that I would be spending scrolling through pointless TikToks. I transfer that energy into okay, I'm going to earn money from this. So that was my mindset. With my children, it didn't affect them at all, Shahid, because I would close deals while I was making food or ironing clothes or putting the washing away. It didn't affect me in that way. I would also be driving home, picking my daughter up from school. She'd be sitting next to me. And in some ways, I think it was inspiring for my children to see, look, mom works really hard. And I think when your child can see you working hard and they can learn from you, and I think when I'm there qualifying my prospects, and then I would say to my children, hey, do you know what I was just doing there? So I'm teaching them skills as well. So in terms of children, if you are, for example, a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad, and you do have children, remember this is probably the best job you can do, because A, it's remote. B, when you're sitting on your DMs, your children could be screaming in the background, they could be playing. Or I recently heard of Miss Rachel. I don't know who Miss Rachel is, but you can have Miss Rachel playing in the background. it doesn't matter. And Shoaib, as your kids get older, they don't want to talk to you anyway because they're always on their phones. So, you can sit there and use your time productively. So I would say I would actually encourage those people who have children and who are looking to work to get into something like this, because you're not having to physically get up an hour early, travel to work, sit in front of your laptop and have your cameras on in Zoom meetings all the time and be present all the time. You can have your own breaks. Essentially, you're your own boss in some ways.
Exactly. It is very flexible, this particular industry. And again, it all just reflects the value you can bring to a company, right? So I've seen closers just work this was me as well. I used to work 3 to 5 hours a day and make 12k plus a month, right? So it's not about you spending hours and hours and hours doing it. As long as you're good at the skills, you have trained with a qualified sales coach, etc., and you are in good roles, then you can have those roles where you're flexible, remote, and earning a lot of money, like Shabana. Okay, cool. I think that's pretty much everything. Shabana, just a last question, I'd say. A lot of people perhaps sitting on the fence, right? What would you tell them in terms of getting into high ticket sales to overcome any fear or doubt that they may have?
Okay, I mean, for those people who are sitting on the fence, just stay on the fence and look 6 months down the line. If you're still sitting on that fence and you're not jumping off that fence, eventually it's going to get painful because that fence is going to start hurting and that fence is going to cause you pain. So you have to make that decision which side you're jumping on. Are you jumping on the side that you came from and you're staying there and you're happy to stay there, which means you're probably not going to get that progression. You're not going to move forward. Or do you want to jump off the fence onto the other side and then just go for it? Because I'm going to be very honest with you. The progression that I've seen in the sales world, I think in a year and a half, I haven't seen that progression in my corporate job in the last 10 years. So to get to the pay that I was on, I probably wouldn't get to that level in the job that I'm working now. And I don't think many people would. So I would say if you are doubtful, you have to think to yourself, do you want to be working for the rest of your life? And we don't know how long life is, but I certainly don't. And I know that if I continue doing well, continuing with the remote sales, and I can't ever see me going back now. I think this will always be a part of me. When they say once you get a taste of something and you become passionate, and I think for me this is my passion. This is my real passion. And anyone who's still having second thoughts or umming and ahhing, you just have to think about how many times have we all ummed and ahed about certain decisions we should have made, and then you look back and you think, like for example, it's June. I'm sure many of us wanted to lose weight in January, myself included. You look back and you think, I was doing well in the first month, and then I kind of didn't in month 2, 3, 4, 5. And I've put a little bit more weight on now than what I did at the beginning of the year. So you think to yourself, I just didn't try. But then if you did, and you've lost 2 stones or you've lost 3 stones, you look back and you think, I've actually done this. And that's because I changed my mindset to do it. So, Shoaib, I do believe unless the individual doesn't change their mindset and have that self-belief and push themselves, they're always going to be that stuck in that rut like I was for many years. I was too afraid to take that step. Yeah. And I wish somebody had given me that motivation and given me that little push and said to me, look, there's a program out there that will be able to help you, but you need to put the hard work in. You will see the results, but put the hard work in. So for me, I feel like if anyone's sitting on the fence about this, just jump off. Either choose a side where you want to stay and you're not going to move forward, or leap on the other side and explore a completely different world where the opportunities are in some ways endless.
Brilliant advice. And I'll echo that by saying you know, being someone who's indecisive and always paralyzed by fear, like you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to see all of these opportunities go past you. You saw back in, maybe 10 years ago or 8 years ago, whatever it was, with Bitcoin. You didn't invest in that. You thought it was a scam, right? Now look where it is. Drop shipping, you didn't invest in that. You could have made money from it. Amazon, same thing. TikTok, same thing. Content creation, high ticket sales, it's all going to be the same. And you're going to be on this roller coaster where you're just going around and you're still just earning the same amount.
Yeah.
So you really want to look at what industry you're getting into, right? Or you really want to look at what industry you're in at the moment. And exactly like Shabana said, see, okay, if I want to make 7K a month after tax, how much would I have to be earning in that industry? That's like 130, 140K, right? So, like, you have to be in a role in your industry where you're earning that much. Normally, those are director roles, which no one will really get, right? So you need to be realistic now. Okay, so now let's move on into the online world. Let's move into the high ticket space. And then within the space of 3, 4, 5 months, I can get that, right? As long as, you put in the work. That's all that's required in this, right? We teach you the skills. We even have recruiters that get you roles earning 5K, 10K a month as well. You just need to make sure you put the time in, learn the skill, get very good, and then from there, your life will change. Yeah?
Absolutely. If I can just add to that,
Sure.
on the program, all we ask you to do is put the hard work in and turn up. It's like football training. You've got your best player. Your best player is only the best player because your best player turns up every single session. That person trains harder than everyone else. Kobe Bryant, for example, I love giving that example. He would wake up, he would train, go back home, sleep for a couple of hours, and then he would do a full training session with his teammates. And they didn't know he'd already trained 4 hours prior. And it's about putting that hard work in. It's about putting that dedication in, turning up, learning and implementing the skills that you are being taught and being consistent with it as well. So we have in this industry, as you know, Shoaib, we have the grafters. They just keep going and they just keep going and they just keep going. And then sometimes you have people in every industry who work with emotion. So if things are going good in their life, everything's rosy. But something's not going good in their life and they just don't have that motivation. But the grafters are the ones who just keep going no matter what. And they're the ones who succeed because they turn up no matter what.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think with that, we'll end the interview. So Shabana, thank you for opening up everyone's eyes about the industry and how it works and how you can be successful. Thank you for sharing your story as well.
You're most welcome.
And to the audience, just take it in. We've had many student interviews that you've perhaps watched. And these are real students, right? Real people who are in 9-to-5 roles, not really enough time freedom, hardly earning any money, maybe 2-3K a month max. And within the space of a few months, they've been able to double, triple, quadruple their earnings just by learning a skill which only takes a few weeks to learn. So, I'll leave you with that, basically. Thank you very much, Shabana.
You're welcome. Thank you, Shoaib.
No worries.